I'm waiting for that crystal phasing variable cap to dry, and so in the meantime I thought I'd start cleaning up these knobs. These Hallicrafters knobs are terrible when they're in good shape, and this one is a good indication of what I have. Whatever that is, I don't know whether it's some kind of coating they put on them and it turns yellow and it peels, and because it peels you'd think it'd be easy to get off, but it's not. So I've done this before. I thought I'd just do a little bit and give you some idea of what I do. First of all, I got me some lacquer thinner here, and I just rub them real good with lacquer thinner, and I mean rub them hard. And whatever that stuff is will eventually melt and go away. I hope you can see how much better that looks. That cleans that old yellow stuff off of there. Not a quick job. Probably took me 15 minutes of rubbing hard with lacquer thinner to get it off, but it'll eventually take it off. Now my next step is I rub it real good with this soft scrub. It's just a household cleaner, but it's got a little bit of grit to it, and I rub them good with that. Mention that I've seen some discussion on the internet about guys saying that they soak these in lacquer thinner, but I would be scared to do that because I'm not sure it would affect this plastic. Also, these legends that are printed on here, I don't know how they are on there. Doing it this way, I've never rubbed any of them off. They seem to be on there pretty good, but I wouldn't want to soak it in lacquer thinner. So then I rub them real good with this soft scrub. It kind of polishes them up, and it'll even take off some of the yellow stuff that may be left. My next step is I spray them down. I've got a solution of Dawn dish water or dish cleaning soap, and I spray that on it, and I take my toothbrush and I clean those grooves as best I can. I'll eventually put all of these in the ultrasonic cleaner, but this gets some of the worst of it off. Alright, next step is I got me a solution of Dawn dish cleaning fluid here, and I'm going to mixed up with water, and I'll put them in there and soak them for a couple of days, and then they'll go in my ultrasonic cleaner over here, and they will look beautiful compared to what they were at first. While I was doing this, I got the bright idea of so I refined my method a little bit, and what I'm doing now is I'm actually coating this knob in that soft scrub. That'll give it a little fine grit, and then I use my rag with lacquer thinner on it and kind of combine the lacquer thinner with the soft scrub, and it looks like it does the job a lot faster. So that's a little refinement on my system. Another little tip that I've learned: these knobs, I cleaned them as best I could, toothbrush, you know, did all that I normally do. Put them in my ultrasonic cleaner, cleaned them, and what I had been doing in the past is spraying a coat of satin clear on them. But one of the things I found is this plastic will absorb moisture, and if you don't wait long enough, if you spray that clear on them, it'll make that clear kind of fog up. And so, oh, somebody on YouTube or what, I don't know where I got it from, but somebody said they use this Restora Finish, which I use on wooden cabinets, on antique radios, to make them look nice. It's more like an oil. This is maple pine. I don't think it matters when you're doing knobs, but they said they did their knobs with this stuff, and I did them, and these knobs are just beautiful. I mean, they are shiny, and it's been 3 or 4 days since I did that, and they still are. I don't know how long it'll last. This stuff, I guess, will evaporate sooner or later, but they look good now. And I guess if it does, you can always redo them later on, put a little more oil on them. Bad thing about it is you probably never get paint to stick to them, or clear to stick to them anymore. But it sure makes them look good now, so we'll see how long this lasts, but I'm pleased. Okay, all set up. It ain't pretty, but we've saved it from the trash can, and I've checked it with the ohm meter, and it's not, plates are not touching anywhere, so I think this is going to work just fine. Crystal phasing controls all mounted, and plates are not touching, so I think this is going to be just fine. By the way, I did restring this this band spread dial, and oiled all the bearings everywhere. There's a dozen little wheels that these dial cords run on. Oiled all of those. You can actually spin this band spread and it'll keep spinning. So all of that's working. And so now we're going to make another attempt at alignment. Okay. This receiver was pretty much dead as a doornail. I could get very, very weak signals on all bands. And one thing about me, I'll tell you about all my mistakes. I won't cover up anything. I worked on this thing for about 2 days, tracing everything, voltage measurement, resistance measurements, tracing the circuit with a signal generator and a signal tracer, and trying to figure out what was going wrong. The audio, I pretty much eliminated the audio stage because this radio's got a phono input. I could plug an audio source into the phono input, seemed to have good strong audio, so that didn't seem to be the problem. Only good thing about it, I figured out a few little minor things that were wrong with it, wires touching, things like that. And as I went along, one of the stupid things I did, I kind of suspected that it was having a problem in this 6AL5, and so in tracing that circuit to make sure everything was hooked up right, there is a 6.8 ohm resistor that goes from the filament supply to the filament of the 6A. It drops the voltage down to, it's supposed to be like 4.4 volts. And one of the stupid things I did was, when I did all my voltage measurements, I ignored filament voltages, just kind of stupidly thought that they would be okay. Finally got around checking filament voltages. This one had like 1 volt on the filament of this 6AL5, and what I had done, I didn't have a 6.8, so I had taken 2 3.3s in series to give me 6.6, except one of them was actually a 39 ohm resistor, or a 33 ohm resistor, instead of a 3.3, and so that was a problem there. I must have, when I picked them up out of the box, I don't know when one had gotten the wrong slot or what, but so I took the 33 out, put a 3.3 in there, and that raised the voltage up on a 6AL5, and I was pretty sure that was a problem, but it didn't hurt, it didn't help a thing. So after a lot more tracing, and the stupid thing I did was, when I first took this thing out of the case, I checked all of the IF transformers and the power transformer. I didn't check the RF transformers. So after 2 or 3 days, I finally got around to that. It seems like that all 5 of these antenna transformers are burnt out. Must have had it in band 5 and lightning hit it to burn them all out. I took the band 1 out, the broadcast band, and you can see it's charred on the primary. I haven't checked the secondary yet to see. And if you look closely in now, I should have seen this earlier. It's all brown and charred on the bottom of that chassis. So I don't know what happened, especially to burn all 5 of them out. So I don't know. Is this radio now parts radio? Finding a set of these coils, the only way to find one is to buy a junk radio, and usually when I buy a junk radio to fix something, that one's in better shape than the one I'm fixing, so kind of stupid to take parts out of it. You can see that little piece of magnet wire there flying around. And that's a whole lot of turns on that winding, a really fine wire. To try to rewind that would be a dog. So I'm going to sleep on this one. I unwound that primary, and it looks like 350, maybe 400 turns of really fine wire. I counted 265, and then it broke down inside the coil, and I couldn't find the end of it, so I had to guess at the rest of it. But I don't think I'm going to try to rewind. I may yet, but I got a bunch of these slip-over primary coils made for old antique radios, and this one is 3/4 inch in diameter. I needed really a 1/2 inch, but I didn't have a 1/2 inch. All of mine are either 3/4 or 1 inch. So, but I think I can slip it up over this primary or this secondary, and I believe I'll get pretty good coupling. So I've just got to figure out a way to physically fasten this thing to it. It's still kind of loose on there, and I have no idea how well it's going to work, but we're going to give it a try. This is a broadcast band, and then I'll just take them one at a time and see what it takes to repair them, if I can repair them. As I get on up in frequency, the primary shouldn't be as many windings and as thin a wire, so I'm hoping it'll get easier as we go along. So here's what I did. I wrapped that bottom section of that coil with masking tape so that I could slip that primary up on it and it would be snug. And I have soldered those very small wires to the terminals. So now I have a coil with a good primary and a good secondary. I have no idea how well this is going to work, but we're going to give it a try. We'll put it in and see what happens. I mounted that coil that I started to say repaired. I kludged together and turned it on, and it didn't playing worse than it ever did. So I pondered, and after a while I thought, you know, I've still got the signal generator hooked up to that variable cap where you hook it up to align it. And so I went and unclipped that, and it was loading down the front end, and so we have radio.
Gotta be honest here, TJ.
For me, it would be like $12.
But you can help save the lives of up to 2.
And I'm going back of the seminary.
And it's picking up stations all across the band, weak ones and whatever. I don't have the tube shields on it. The tube shields were all rusted up, and I'm going to take them and bead blast them. And but anyway, the tube shields are not on, so it wants to oscillate a little bit on real strong signals, but we'll fix that. So now I'm going to move on to band 2. I'll take this coil out right here and see what it's going to take to try to get that one repaired. It looks like all of 5 bands, the antenna coils are, the primaries of them are burned out. I just can't imagine. As I said, I guess the only thing that would do that if he had it in band 5 and all of those coils were in series. I'm just not sure how that could happen. But we're going to try to fix them. I pulled the band 2 antenna coil, and I think this one's going to be a lot easier. If you look, you can see that charred section right at the bottom. It's not very many turns, so I think I can probably wind that one back on myself. And the secondary is okay. I checked it, and so I think this one's going to be a lot easier to repair. This third coil down is not band 3, that's actually band 5. So I have pulled it out here, and I don't know if you can see it or not. You might be able to see that. It looks like about 4 turns of less than human hair size wire. All the wires was kind of welded together. It's hard to count the turns on these things, but anyway, I'm going to wind it back as best I can. And the primaries of these I don't think are all that sensitive. The secondaries are, they're tuned secondaries, And so anyway, I'm gonna put 4 turns of something on there. Probably not human hair wire. Something a little larger that's easier to handle. And I believe it'll be okay. So I'm doing this one. I was trying to do this one without disconnecting all these wires, and I just kind of pulled it out like it is. So anyway, there's that human hair wire if you can see it, and I'm going to rewind it. I've mounted band 2 coil. This is actually band 5, so I've repaired and mounted that. So I started out with band 5, that's the 50 megahertz band, and essentially I never heard a sound on that before I started doing coil repair. So at least now I'm on band 5. I'm getting some carriers. And I think I can barely hear an image there. That sounds like maybe a TV station or a radio station or something. It's an image. But band 5 is working now, and I'm getting signals and carriers, and so that's good. So I'm going to switch to band 2. That was the other one I've repaired. And not a lot to listen to on band 2. It's 10:30 in the morning, and that band 2 covers from 1.7 to 4.5, so not a lot there, but the receiver is definitely hot now. So band 2 is repaired. Band 1, 2, and 5 are repaired and working. So now we only have to do 3 and 4. So we'll go to work on those. This band 3 transformer had about 5 turns of this human hair wire on that. So I'm going to rewind that one, and looks like this band 4, I need to get it out while I've got band 3 out, because it's another one of those that the terminals are at the bottom of the coil, and it's going to be difficult to get in and out. So I'll get that one out and do that one while this one's out to make some more room in there. I got band 4 out here where I can operate on it. Wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. The biggest problem is they've got a piece of large flexible wire covered up with a large piece of spaghetti. I don't know if you can see it back in there, but that goes to one of these bottom terminals, and luckily it got a little piece of metal on the end that'll wrap around that terminal, so it wasn't too difficult to get off, and I don't think it'll be difficult to get soldered back on there. The rest of the wires I didn't have to connect or disconnect. Good thing I left this band 3 out though, so I have more room to work. You can see I've got the new primary wound on band 3, and this one, band 4, looks like it only had like 2 turns of this human hair wire on it, on the primary. So and all of them, well, first of all, the enamel on the wire is all charred, and in some places the wire is actually welded together. But all of them are burned loose from one of the terminals on one end, which I guess is understandable. So looks like 2 turns of this small wire on the primary of this one will fix this one. All the coils are back in, and bands 3 and 4 are working. That's band 3, some kind of swishing sound going on. And see if I can and band, well, all the bands are working, so I had to rewind all the primaries on all of the 5 of these transformers. Luckily these are not too bad to get in and out, and most of them just got a few turns. The broadcast band is the only one, and if you remember, I just used one of these little slip-over coils, slip-over primaries from the old antique radio days, and that seems to be working just great. So I'm glad to have this radio back working like I think it should, and I'm really kind of impressed with its sensitivity. I've read some about sensitivity not being so great, and maybe compared to my yuppie radio, it's not, but I've been impressed with what I see so far. And so now I'm going to do another alignment, since I've been in these coils and moving some wires around, etc. I'm going to do an alignment again and see if I can get that. Last time I could not get that discriminator to work like they say it ought to work. So I've got to work on that some. Not that I'm going to ever need narrowband FM, but would like to have it working. I've bead blasted the top of this SX-71 and the front panel, and now I'm coated it down with this rust mort. I use this a lot in my automotive restoration stuff, and it'll soak it down real good with that, and it'll kill all of this rust residue that's left. You can't get it all with the bead blaster, and so anyway, it'll kill that. Let that soak a while, and I'll wash it off and prime it. Haven't done the main part of the cabinet yet. I'll do that today. And so I've ordered the decals for the front panel from Radio Days, and won't be too long we'll have this thing back operating and pretty. The SX-71 is finished, and this has turned out to be one more beautiful radio. Just to recap, I bead blasted everything, I primed it, painted it, put the Radio Days decals on it, then covered that with a coat of satin finish clear, and radio's working. Let's see what's on here. Single side band on 80 meters.
That the SWR phone back protection circuitry and the 991 might be limiting the input.
Let me go up and see what's on 40 meters. Well, let's see if we can hear anything on 20 meters. 20 meters CW. Canadian station, Victor Echo 3. Papa Yankee 2. PY2 Zebra Zebra.
Lima Víctor, 59 acá en São Paulo también. Muchas gracias, Papa Yankee 2, Zelândia. Buenos días.
Well, we'll switch up to 6 meters. I haven't heard anything on 6 meters. I never hear anything on 6 meters around this part of the country anyway, but we'll switch up there and see. Few birdies. Go down and try the broadcast band.
removing restrictions on businesses, but he is not flinching from the mass mandate one iota. Middle for Wyoming's Mark Gordon, West Virginia's Governor Jim Justice, even while easing some restrictions contended that some other governors need to be in schooling and sports because they're a woman, because of their sex. It has nothing to do with gender identification, has nothing to do with
like Michigan State and like Purdue. You approach potential of it. When we talk about the genetics of colon cancer, like I said about...
Well, anyway, broadcast band is hot as a red hot poker. And so I'm extremely pleased. This one was definitely a junk radio when I got it. The front was all scratched up and rusty, and the legends rubbed off, and most people would say it was a parts radio. But everything's beautiful now. On the top, the only telltale sign is when you open it up and look at the chassis, and I cleaned it up as best I could, but the chassis is in pretty rough shape. But the radio works good. I guess that's all that matters.